doesn't end well unless it ends. Can't just report the fucking obvious. Just a motherfucking jump. Just go. And here we are, ready to jump. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy, and the other fucking guy seated right next to me at the controls is Leo. It's Monday morning, my friend. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Troy. How you doing today, man?
Man, it has been a wild, wild weekend for me. Fun weekend, a football weekend. A weekend that Dawn and I both really enjoy, but holy shit. And then when you top all the football shit off with all the stuff going on with the president, holy cow. We got a lot to talk about today, and we'll get to it. But starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was miraculous, honestly, how they managed to get into the playoffs. At times, here and there, looked good throughout the season. The defense, the first half of the season, didn't look good at all. And I really questioned how, from game one, how we would fare against teams like the Ravens because of they have, Hall of Fame running back, future Hall of Fame running back, Derrick Henry. And if, the Jets can run all over us, well, then the Ravens sure the fuck will. And that's what it looked like in the first half. Couldn't stop that dude. He was a truck. And Pittsburgh couldn't help themselves but continue to make mistakes. It seems like Pittsburgh wants to make it as hard as possible to win a ball game when they really should or could control the whole thing. I mean, Baltimore had a great drive, their first drive down the field, but after that, Pittsburgh had opportunities that they just totally blew right at the end towards the end of the first half. Blew it trying to go for a first down or a touchdown, and our version of the tush push didn't fucking work and ended up with 0 points. And then Aaron Rodgers played his ass off. I mean, this was the second game now that the Steelers were missing DK Metcalf, and he was missed. He was missed. We did have TJ Watt back, which was much needed, and he did Watt kind of stuff by him and Hayward. Hayward blocked a pass, and while it was in the air, and then you had TJ Watt intercept it, which was huge, just huge. Lamar Jackson, who looked good starting out, just struggled. He doesn't have a particularly great record against Pittsburgh. He has a losing record all time against Pittsburgh. He's 3-6. And 2-3 in Pittsburgh, now 2-4 in Pittsburgh. And it was in Pittsburgh, and you could tell that made a difference, especially when Pittsburgh got the momentum going back and the fans really got into it in the second half of the game. And the defense stood up, and all of a sudden it was going back and forth between the Ravens and Rodgers, and then the Steelers to go up by 3 after late in the game, after the Ravens take the lead. The Pittsburgh Steelers come back down. There's, barely over a minute remaining. And one of the best kickers currently in the NFL, he's in the top 3 currently in the NFL, misses the extra point. So now a field goal can win, and they get a great run back on the kickoff, and they get a chance to kick a 44-yard field goal with 2 seconds left. The ball went wide right. Pittsburgh won the game. Now, during the game, I was going back and forth with my daughter, and I love doing that. It's a blessing to be able to do that. Just chatting about the game as it went on, back and forth, and it would be so funny. Both of us, she was trained by the best. We would say things, and within 30 seconds, the announcers were saying the same thing we had just said to each other. Because they're so predictable, really. But it was fun. We enjoyed it. And at the end, I think she had given up the last couple minutes. She didn't have faith. She's not a believer in Tomlin. And honestly, even after winning the game, I'm really ready to move on from Mike Tomlin. I'm just going to say. I mean, to change my mind, they have to do more than just win the wild card game. That's expected. Getting to the playoffs was expected. We were told that this was going to be, Pittsburgh was making all these moves so that they could make a run now, and that's why you go and get an Aaron Rodgers. And, some of the moves made sense, and some of the moves, it's not that they didn't make sense, they didn't improve our position. Like, I love DK Metcalf. But it didn't make us, when you get rid of a number one and get a number one wide receiver, and you still don't have a solid number two, you're not any better off. You're not any better off. And the same thing happened on defense. We get Ramsey, and so what? I don't know. But I do know that I still had faith, and then I didn't. And I was wondering if I was going to share this or not today, but I'm going to share it. So let me go to the last one that I gave you for Pittsburgh, which was the DraftKings. My DraftKings, yeah. Can you make it so they can see my DraftKings there? So I got killed on Saturday on DraftKings. Let's just be honest. I got wiped. All three playoff games I lost. I had a 3-game parlay, a 2-game parlay, and then betting on the last game, and I didn't pick one motherfucking winner. Not one on Saturday. So I got a little bit left in the account, and I start, making some moves, and it's not going well on Sunday, and I had a little bit left, and I put it all on a bet that was there's a minute remaining. I did this twice in the first group of games where I did the in-game betting. I bet that on the spread and that things were going to hold and which team was going to win, and I put all the money on it, and I won 2 in a row. I did a third, and I was about to lose it, and I cashed out. So I took that money and I put that $181.14 on Pittsburgh on a 5-pick parlay. And this was one, I did pick Pittsburgh to win. See, a lot of them I had been doing previous to that were just player props I was doing. So I thought this was reasonable. Calvin Austin, he didn't play against the Browns. He is our, I guess, number 2. And I didn't think 15 yards was that much of an expectation, but it took him a while to get it. He didn't really get it till the fourth quarter. Gainwell, that dude is all over the place, and he's been catching the ball out of the backfield. Both backs did. In fact, Warren had a fantastic game. I should have had him in the player prop. But I had, Gainwell only getting 15 yards, and I had both quarterbacks getting 160. Now, Rodgers got there first, and it didn't look like Lamar Jackson was going to get there. But at the end of the game, in the fourth quarter, he has 2 big touchdowns when one was 8 minutes left and one when there was, where we left somebody so fucking wide open, dude. Like there wasn't a player within 20 yards. And it was their best wide receiver. It was Flowers. How you leave their best guy that open or in one case, let him get behind. It was absolutely horrendous defensive call and just a total breakdown. But he gets it. So now I got left the money line. And my money, you keep watching the cash out balance. Mm-hmm. It got up to like 600. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm staying in for if I win, it's a little over $1,000. I'm going to ride it out because, I have faith. And then we missed the extra point. Then they got the 47 yards. And then I was like, I cashed out. I just cashed out. I knew they were going to be in field goal range, reasonable field goal range. And it's a rookie kicker, but he had been decent all season. And if it had been over 50 yards, maybe that would have been different. But instead of letting it ride and having faith, I'm a bad fan. I pulled the plug. And then the ball went wide right. Boy, dude.
I can imagine.
Yeah, you're thinking about that. Oh, dude. But I wanted to win more than, I looked at it this way. I would rather see the Steelers win. Let's say that Lamar Jackson didn't get the 160 yards, passing. I would rather have lost the bet, the whole bet, the whole amount of money, right? And had the Steelers win. That's what I wanted. I wanted to win. But just thought I would share that, so people don't think I only share my winners. But I can say this, though. I need to go back to the casino. Because in the last, Dawn and I went on Christmas Eve, and then we went back again on Friday. Christmas Eve, I ended up, I could have had a little more, but the way things played out, because the amount of money I took and on a bet, you just have to know what my strategy is. I ended up with $700 and cashed out.
Still profit.
And well, she lost $300. So $400 net. Well, no, I that was my
you're talking
profit.
About both,
That's what I win.
about both of you guys.
Yeah, I won 1,000 or 700, and she lost 300. So we netted 400.
Gotcha.
But I had only taken 4,000 to start, and I usually take at least 5 or more. And I did this. I actually took 10, but only got chips for 5. I just had the extra 5 just in case I needed it. So I did that on Friday, and I ended up 2,000.
That's not bad.
It was not bad. It was not bad. I will take that. That made up for having, doing shitty on my other bets and on the college football, not doing well. So I got to go back to the casino and work the baccarat.
Ways.
Yeah, the baccarat worked better for me. But here on the spur of the moment, we have like the busiest week. Or 2 weeks coming up that you could possibly imagine. Soon as Pittsburgh won, I immediately looked for tickets, got tickets. They were about, these seats were $620 a piece for club level. Because I went, I'm used to the club level thing now. It's really, really nice. But it's going to be cold as fuck, dude.
It's in Pittsburgh.
I'm going to Pittsburgh. Monday Night Football. So a week from tonight, so next Monday's show, I will be in Pittsburgh doing it from the hotel room.
This Friday, you will also be somewhere else doing it from from a hotel room as well, I assume.
No, that's following that. So first, what's going to happen? This Thursday is the college semifinal game here in Glendale, which is going to be Ole Miss. Who I remember I picked Georgia and Ohio State to be in this particular game, in this particular semifinal. Yeah. But it's going to be Ole Miss is going to be in this one. And, we'll see what Ole Miss in Miami. That's who it is. So we have that on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to leave on Sunday. Where this is a quick trip. We leave on Sunday. We get there. We got dinner at 7:45 at the Capitol Grill. because the Capitol Grill is, they don't have the selection of restaurants in Pittsburgh like we do here.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. But I've never been to that. There's a casino right by the stadium. I've never been to the casino there. Might have to check that out, my friend. I might have to check that out on Sunday night. Monday night's the game. So we'll do that. And then coming back, right away on Tuesday. Then we leave on Friday for Miami. And for that, the championship is on Monday night.
Wow.
Monday night.
Wow. That is a lot going on.
Right. That's a lot going on, right? That's a lot going on. That's a lot going on. But, with what I've had, and I just told a friend, and he was thinking about going with us, and not able to. But, we're very blessed to have the life and the business that we have and everything, and I am grateful for that, because not everybody can do this. It's not just about having the money. It's about having the time to be able to do it. And thankfully, I can do my business anywhere and will, and I can, I love doing the podcast here and our new digs and everything that's set up, but, I can do it from a hotel room, and I will. But not everybody has that to be able to do. They can't just take off. They have other obligations. And, man, life is so fucking short, man, that I want to enjoy shit now, and that's why I pile it on. I keep repeating that mantra over and over again. Because if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? And you miss out. These are things that you do that you remember, and this is something that, Dawn and I will remember, and we're doing something that we enjoy together, and she enjoys football as much as I do. So this is just huge and fun for us. And $22 is what my flight cost us, because I used my
you used points.
I used my Delta.
Oh, okay, I was about to say
I used my American Express Platinum Delta points.
Yeah, I was gonna go to Colorado for Christmas, but last minute tickets were like $500, and I was like, hell no. So the fact that you said 22, I was like, what the fuck?
$22, man, for first class.
That's solid.
Yeah, that would have been close to somewhere, give or take, around $2,000 a ticket. So it saved us that, which is why I used that card and why I accumulate those points. I'm not really happy about the layover in Atlanta. It's a short layover. It's not a straight flight, but it is what it is, and I wanted to use the points. I could have found a straight flight, I'm sure, on American, but at this point, man, I've built up so many I've got, 600,000 points or something, so I still got a shit ton of points. I was like, I got to use this shit. So I did. And the tickets weren't that expensive. We would do dinner at a place like the Capitol Grill anyways this weekend. So that's not like an extra expense for us. Yeah. Maybe a little bit for a car, but still pretty reasonable. A few $1,000, for a nice weekend. So we're going to take off and do that, and really excited about sharing that with her and doing this. So just thought I'd share it with everybody else. Let's get into the serious stuff now. And I'm going to need my glasses for most of this, so people. But everybody's aware that the Venezuelan dictator, drug dealer, drug kingpin has been arrested. And he was arrested by both the military, and there were other law enforcement there, because they literally arrested him. Now, I'm totally okay with this, but of course, if you hate Trump, you're not okay with this. And so we're going to go through this a little bit so you can really get an understanding about this, because one of the things that I was surprised to learn is that there are groups here, and I don't know, maybe I was being naive, that there are groups here in the U.S. and globally that align with the Communist Party and they operate out of the United States. And they are right on getting propaganda out, like right away. Like as soon as this was happening and barely anybody knew about it, they were already ready for this and already sending out messages. And it includes like even groups like that, Code Pink, and these other nonprofits and stuff that are all involved in this. So, you know, people think that maybe that a certain group of people are all upset, but this is all a setup. It's all a setup by these left-wing nut jobs. And so you're going to hear that noise, and have already started to hear that noise because they want to affect public opinion. All right? That's obvious that they want to do that. So I was going to start with the Wall Street Journal article because I thought that gave the best flow, best description. So I'm going to go over some of that with you and understand how this whole thing was set up. Because this didn't just happen out of nowhere. Maybe we weren't paying close enough attention. Yeah, we had the drug boats that were getting bombed and some words being thrown back and forth, you know, similar to what Trump did with North Korea in his first term, you know, my button is bigger kind of a thing. You know, a dick measuring contest, basically. Well, Trump won. But let's go back and kind of go over this a little bit. What?
Looks like we just have a quick comment from Big
Sure.
House 1695. He says, I'm not sure how I feel about Maduro. Is it Maduro?
Maduro.
Maduro. The Maduro thing. Is Maduro POS? Absolutely. Should we carry out ops like we did to get Maduro? Very gray area, in my opinion.
Well, maybe it's a gray area. But how about this? It's not just the United States. 60 countries do not recognize him as the legit leader of Venezuela. 60 countries. That's a lot. 60 countries don't recognize him as the legitimate president. And that there was an election that they fixed. He held on to power. So, you know, was he, you know, well, that's just, I think, important part of the whole thing. But this has many, many parts. This isn't just about the drugs. This is also about other countries that we're not allies with, that are basically enemies.
It's about
we're trying to get along. What's that?
It's about the oil.
Well, we'll get to that. Okay, but let's be real about the oil, and that's fine for you to bring that up already. Why do you think China and Russia were there and Iran?
For the oil.
For the oil.
Yeah.
So why should we let these other countries that don't have our best interests at heart come into our hemisphere and operate and get cheap oil? Why should we let that happen? We don't have to let that happen. We built that original oil structure. The U.S. built that. U.S. companies, in conjunction with Venezuela, built that original oil structure. And then these dictators took it over and we let them. And it's been in decline ever since. You know, it wasn't that many years ago, but some. You know, you go back to the early 2000s, I'd probably say, Venezuela was a thriving country. But it's really been the last 10 years. Do you realize? I didn't realize this. I knew a lot. I knew there was a lot of immigration and a lot of illegals, a lot of people trying to, you know, leave Venezuela and get into the United States and crossing the border illegally or trying to claim amnesty or whatever. They probably had a better claim at amnesty, but they, should have went to a neighboring country first. But regardless, Venezuela lost 8 million people, which is somewhere about a quarter of their population in the last 10 years. That's a lot of manpower. That's a lot of people really not happy with where they're living. And they like I said, they used to be a thriving country. They used to have money. But that's how socialism works. That's how communism works. Look at who their friends are. Cuba, Iran. Iran was using Venezuela to get terrorist passports, Venezuelan passports, so that they could travel, so that their terrorists could travel. See, those are like the little details most of us don't ever pay attention to or think about, and that we only find out about after we look at it after the fact. And Leo was 100% right. Anybody that says this was that one of the big factors here was oil is 100% right. But here's what we're not going to do. We're not just going to take the oil. What is going to happen, what the plan is for the U.S. companies that were there, and I believe Chevron was still doing some business there. They're gonna go back in and invest money and make that more profitable again for the Venezuelan people. Which will the Venezuelan people, if they're doing better, because we don't want them, we don't want 8 million people or even 4 million people or 2 million Venezuelans try to get to the United States. It is in our best interest for people, especially our neighbors, to do well. So that's what they're going to do. We're not like taking or stealing the oil like it was stolen from us. And nobody did anything about it. And look, we were told Iraq was about oil too, right? Afghanistan was just that country didn't produce shit. That was just about drugs and just having an enemy that we thought we could run over and didn't. But Iraq was about oil. And why did we have to spend $1 trillion? What did we get out of that? Why didn't we do the same thing in Iraq that we're talking about now? Why didn't we use their oil proceeds to rebuild their country? Why did we use U.S. money? $1 trillion. See, here's the thing that Trump isn't doing. This isn't like some long war. He had the bombing of Iran. Remember the remarks? Just go back. I mean, it's not that hard, people. It was within the past year. We bomb Iran, and all we heard was it was going to be the end of the world. Oh, my God, Trump this, Trump that. Oh, my God, we're another endless war. How many American lives did we lose? You telling me that, in fact, if you look at things now, what's happened to Iran? They've been protesting, serious protesting in Iran. Serious. So serious that the Iranian government is killing protesters. They want a new government. They want to be free. There was a time, prior into the early 70s, when Iran was a beautiful country that people actually went to with beautiful Persian people. And then what happened? the Ayatollahs. You think this happening in Venezuela? Do you think that has any of the Ayatollahs or any of the group in charge there? You think that has them worried today? A little bit. And like I said, this wasn't like some rash decision. Trump gives you a way out. He always gives you a way out. It reminds me of a story of when I was in the Outlaw Motorcycle Club. And shit always seemed to happen when I was in the restroom. And we came in, a whole group of us. There was only a couple other people there. And we came in and I went to the restroom. And the two people there were at about the middle of the bar. And while I was in the restroom, one of our guys asked the people that were in the middle of the bar, seated at the middle of the bar, if they would mind sliding down a little bit. And they ignored him. And usually he wouldn't ask a second time, but he asked a second time. And the guy said, "What if I don't?" Now realize that on this bar stool, there's no back on this bar stool. And this brother grabbed this man by the back of his shirt and pulled him backwards to the ground and said, "That's what the fuck if you don't." And so I came out at that time and, my job was protection. That's what I did. So I'm like, they're chirping a little bit. I'm like, dude, just move the fuck down. All right? I'll buy you a drink. Just move down. But they wouldn't stop. And they decided to leave. And as they were leaving, I heard one of the men say, "I'm going to get my Glock and I'll be back." And I followed him out. And some things happened after I followed him out. I'll leave it at that. But I did my job. I did what I was supposed to do. Because what if that guy had left to come back with a Glock? That's what he said. I took him at his word. But he was given a chance. More than once. And even after that, I still offered to buy him a drink and just chill the fuck out and move down. So there you go. That's Trump. Trump is a gangster. I've said that before. I don't know why that's news to anybody. Trump is a godfather and operates that way. He did business for years with the mob. And he's a CEO and operates like a CEO. And then once, he collects information, he wants to make a deal, tries to make a deal, he gets more information, and then finally he makes a decision like, "Boom, this is it. This is my line." And you don't really know where that line is all the time. Because he might go on for a little bit, just like he did. That's what the Wall Street Journal article was kind of about, going back, 6 months. So let me read a little bit of it. 6 months before he sent U.S. forces to seize Maduro, Trump wanted to cut a deal, not remove him from power. During a July meeting in the Oval, Trump told advisors he wanted to keep negotiating with the regime and reach a deal and give priority to U.S. oil companies to pump Venezuelan crude. Diplomacy is what he wanted, or was trying. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had long cautioned him against trusting Maduro and believed oil revenues would bolster his regime, opposed the approach, but Trump said he wanted a deal. We're doing it my way. He appreciates, his people's opinions. He takes it in, and then he decides what he's going to do, and everybody falls in line. We've had the bombing attacks, right, on the boats, the drug boats. In late December, the president decided in favor of military action. He was fed up with repeated efforts to persuade Maduro to leave office. He basically said, you can go, and, he was probably going to be allowed to keep so much money and live a pretty comfortable life and just go in exile somewhere. That's something they used to do a lot of years ago. How about you just leave? We'll let you leave. You can live. Somebody else is going to take over. And that didn't always work out. We don't know how this is going to work out either. But we know what the current situation wasn't working out either. So we do have that. The operation on Saturday ended with Maduro in jail in New York. And it's a test case for more muscular foreign policy that Trump has signaled he may seek to deploy in other parts of the world, from Colombia to Greenland. Yeah, you have Colombia screaming right now, too. Of course they would. And the people that are the loudest right now, China, Russia, and Iran, were the ones benefiting the most from the corruption in Venezuela. Just like Democrats. When you shut down their pipeline with these NGOs and stuff, who screamed the loudest? Oh my God. They don't care about starving kids. They care about their ability to be able to scam money from the U.S. government. In Trump's second term, Venezuela quickly became an unlikely convergent point for his priorities. And follow this: mass deportations, drug trafficking, and the oil and mineral reserves. And a long-standing push by Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants, and other hardliners to depose its brutal regime. Venezuela is a perfect storm. It's everything the Trump administration is concerned about, said Elliot Abrams, who handled Venezuelan affairs in Trump's first term. Trump's fixation on the country's resources, expressed to allies after he took office for the second time, triggered behind-the-scenes jockeying among his advisors and oil lobbyists over the shape of the Venezuela policy. Trump made it clear he cared more about a bargain from Caracas that served the American First agenda, including cooperation on deportations and favorable oil deals. Ultimately, Rubio and Trump's other advisors came out on top after they convinced the president Maduro was a drug trafficking terrorist who wouldn't leave power on his own. Maduro saw Trump's pressure campaign as a bluff. How much longer is that going to happen? That people are going to think Trump is bluffing? I mean, betting against this man is about the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Dumber than my Steeler bet that I cashed in on that was a winner. Don't count it out. Have faith. President Donald Trump, you must be careful because Marco Rubio wants to stain your hands with blood, is what Maduro said. In September, Maduro appeared in videos dancing and singing, telling Americans he wanted peace and don't worry. Trump was frustrated with the videos, telling aides he believed Maduro was unserious. December 23rd, Maduro rejected what he didn't know would be his final offer to leave office. Instead of living out the rest of his days in exile with his family, a helicopter lifted him and his wife out of Caracas and into U.S. custody, and now he's in Brooklyn, New York. And as far as the second in command, she's not even in the country. She left. She snuck out. So she's now going to be the acting president. And she's had two different lines of things that she said. One is trying to be, a little tough about sovereignty and blah, blah, blah. And the other about, okay, we'll work with you. Well, it should be pretty evident she doesn't have much of a fucking choice. Maduro was the only one taken. There are others that were still, and including this vice president, who were sanctioned by the U.S. government. And you go back, all right? Joe Biden, President Joe, the one y'all love to tell me on X every day is such a great president, how much you miss him. The guy you stabbed in the back, that guy put a $25 million bounty on Maduro. And I believe that was in 2020. But I know there was a bounty on him that was increased by Trump to $50 million. Now, I don't know who gets the $50 million right now. Maybe Trump will claim it and then donate the money. I don't know. But there is a bounty. Trump has just done what other people have been afraid to do. But what about Congress? What about Congress? That's what you've been hearing about all weekend from the liberals. This was illegal. This is against our Constitution. This is exactly what Obama did. Exactly what Bill Clinton did. And Congress didn't much like when they did it either. But you know what they did to stop it? Nothing. And now that Trump has that power, now you want to do something about it. Well, if you take it away, you're going to be taking it away from every president that follows as well. If you're launching, a war and a campaign, and there are going to be real boots on the ground. Look, this bombing they didn't bomb Venezuelan people. The people, they bombed a military base and an airport that had been closed. That's what they bombed. And Maduro lived on that military base. And they had all kinds of fancy equipment that they bought from Russia to detect, the enemy. How did that work out? It didn't. So if you don't think, they got to realize that if they don't do the right thing, which would be somebody be in charge, like this vice president, and probably they'll set up elections within a year and have legitimate elections, that person will be removed too. And if you don't believe the U.S. can do it, after this showing, you're just an idiot. If they did it once, they can do it again. Look what Israel did with those with those pagers and how they took a shitload of people out. I mean, we are pretty sophisticated. And, I give two fucks about international law. You know why? You know why I give two fucks about it? You think Russia gives a shit about international law? What international law did they follow when they invaded Ukraine for a second time? What international law did they follow? And how many people have been killed on both sides in that war? That still is not ended. And honestly, I give two fucks about that country. I do not care about Ukraine. Sorry about the Ukrainian people, but not our fight. And I'm done with the whole money thing. And, did this operation cost some money? Sure it did. It didn't cost $1 trillion fucking dollars. We didn't lose thousands of men. We didn't have tens of thousands of men injured. And then tens of thousands more suffering from PTSD like we do today from Iraq and Afghanistan. This was a precision strike. Exactly what any real president is allowed to do. How in the world could President Trump tell Congress at any point about this, even if it was like a few hours before? Because these motherfuckers would run to a microphone and they would blow the operation. That's why. Because we have people in our government that are flat out traitors. There's no other word you can call them. They're traitors. They're defending a drug dictator who's not even a legit dictator. We recognize Putin. We don't recognize nobody. It's not just us. It's not just the U.S. on its own. 60 other countries do not recognize Venezuela or Maduro as the president of Venezuela. China? You don't think this has a lot to do with China? You don't think that, this might encourage, China to take Taiwan? It also might discourage them too. Yeah, we'll see. What we do know is they know this. They don't know what they're going to get with Trump. And he uses that to his advantage. And he uses it better to his advantage than anybody we've ever seen. If you're not the biggest and toughest dude, the best way to win a fight, be the craziest motherfucker. Crazy sometimes works. But this was a message to China as well. Why should China get discounted oil? And I mean, they're not just a competitor. They are literally one of our enemies that we tolerate and try to just mutually not destroy each other or get along. But don't think they're not trying to destroy us in other ways. It isn't always just with bombs. Like I said, they have a whole campaign going on. And they're using the useful idiots here in the United States that we call Democrats. Using them for their propaganda. And they're just buying it because they hate Trump. They don't even think deep about this at all. They don't think at all. I saw where, they say they don't remember the no kings, that these liberals don't want a king. They also don't want thinking. Because they're not thinking very deep about this. It's purely, they don't know which way to go with this. In fact, one liberal, I forget the name, maybe it was ABC. I don't remember the host's name that was interviewing Rubio. I didn't write it down. I apologize. He was interviewed on several programs yesterday. But, she basically asked him, well, why didn't you get more people? Why didn't you capture more of these people instead of just Maduro? And do we have it? Did you find it? Is it? No, I don't know if that's it or not. I don't see it's got to be with interview with Rubio. Yeah, we can hear that one a little bit. You could play that. We'll skip through it. Face the Nation, CBS. We'll see.
We begin today with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who joins us this morning from Miami. Good morning to you, Mr. Secretary.
Good morning. Good morning.
President Trump said that the United States will run the country and that Venezuela will be largely run by, he pointed to you and some of the other cabinet members when he spoke to the public yesterday. He said the U.S. retains all military options, including boots on the ground, until U.S. demands have been fully met. How do you plan to run the country?
Well, first of all, I think the important thing to point out is that the key to what that regime relies on and is their economy fueled by oil. And right now, it is an oil industry that is backwards and really needs a lot of help and work in terms of it. And not only that, but it doesn't help the people. None of the money from the oil gets to the people. It's all stolen by the people that are on the top there. And so that's why we have a quarantine. There's a quarantine right now in which sanctioned oil shipments, there's a boat, and that boat is under U.S. sanctions. We go get a court order, we will seize it. That remains in place. And that's a tremendous amount of leverage that will continue to be in place until we see changes, not just further the national interest of the United States, which is number one, but also that lead to a better future for the people of Venezuela. And so that's the sort of control the president is pointing to when he says that. We continue with that quarantine. And we expect to see that there will be changes, not just in the way the oil industry is run for the benefit of the people, but also so that they stop the drug trafficking, so that we no longer have these gang problems, so that they kick the FARC and the ELN out, and that they no longer cozy up to Hezbollah and Iran in our own hemisphere.
But what you are talking about is more of a sanctions pressure, not boots on the ground. So just to be clear, there is no plan for U.S. occupation of this country of nearly 30 million people.
Well, I think, first of all, the president always retains optionality on anything and on all of these matters. He certainly has the ability and the right under the Constitution of the United States to act against imminent and urgent threats against the country. That said, and all of that said, right now, I think what you see is a force posture was one of the largest naval deployments in modern history, certainly in the Western Hemisphere. And it is capable of stopping not just drug boats, but stopping any of these sanctioned boats that come in and out and really paralyzing that portion of how the regime, generates revenue. So that will continue to be in place. What the president has said, obviously, is, and I think what he's pointing to is that this obsession people have about boots and this or that, he does not feel like he is going to publicly, rule out options that are available for the United States, even though that's not what you're seeing right now. What you're seeing right now is an oil quarantine that allows us to exert tremendous leverage over what happens next.
Well, he also said the U.S. is ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. But
yes.
I'm curious because you just described the regime as still in place, essentially.
Yeah, watch this.
I'm curious why the Trump administration decided to leave it intact and only arrest Nicolas Maduro and his wife, the person who controls the police, the chief thug, Cabello. He's the interior minister. He's been indicted by the United States. He was in that indictment the administration released. He's a narco terrorist. There's a $25 million price on his head. He's still in place. The defense minister, who has deep ties to Russia, $15 million price on his head. He is still in place. I'm confused. Are they still wanted by the United States? Why didn't you arrest them if you are taking out the narco terrorist regime?
You're confused? I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in power.
It's very simple. You're not going to go in and wrap up. But you can't go. You're going to go in and suck up 5 people. They're already complaining about this one operation. Imagine the howls we would have from everybody else if we actually had to go and stay there 4 days to capture 4 other people. We got the top priority. The number one person on the list was the guy who claimed to be the president of the country that he was not. And he was arrested along with his wife, who was also indicted. And that was a pretty sophisticated and frankly complicated operation.
It was.
It is not easy to land helicopters in the middle of the largest military base in the country. The guy lived on a military base. Land within 3 minutes, kick down his door, grab him, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights, put him in a helicopter, and leave the country without losing any American or any American assets. That's not an easy mission. And you're asking me, why didn't we do that in 5 other places at the same time? I mean, that's absurd. I do think this is one of the most, daring, complicated,
Just say, are you
sophisticated missions
fucking
this country
stupid?
has carried out in a very long time. Tremendous credit to the U.S. military personnel
Yeah.
who did it. It was unbelievable, and tremendous success. And today, an indicted drug trafficker who was not the legitimate president of Venezuela,
Right.
who we don't recognize, the Biden administration didn't recognize, 60-something countries don't recognize, the European Union doesn't recognize, and many countries in Latin America don't recognize. He was a indicted drug trafficker. He was arrested. His wife was arrested,
Right,
also
but the
indicted,
others,
and they are
the
now
others who
facing
are also
justice in an
indicted are
American
still
system of courts.
The others who are also indicted are still in place. So that's the point of my questioning there. But you talked about not being the legitimate
So you wanted
president.
us to land in 5 other military bases?
No, I'm asking why you chose that this was the limit of the military operation. But to your point that you
Limited.
just made, that, that Maduro was not the
He
legitimate
was
president.
he was the guy who was claiming to be the president.
Right. Well, the
He was the
opposition.
top target.
Okay. The opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado and Mundo Gonzalez, won that 2024 election by your own account. They were some of the first people you called when you were Secretary of State. You said Mundo Gonzalez is the rightful president of Venezuela. Is that still the U.S. policy? And if so, are you working on a transition to have those elected leaders run the country?
Well, I think a couple things. I have tremendous admiration for Maria Corina Machado. I have admiration for Edmundo. We have all those views about what the election that happened the last time, and not only us, but many other countries around the world. There's that. And there's the mission we are on right now. We have been very clear from the beginning, because I still think that a lot of people analyze everything that happens in foreign policy through the lens of what happened from 2001 to 2015 or 16. The whole, foreign policy apparatus thinks everything is Libya, everything is Iraq, everything is Afghanistan. This is not the Middle East. And our mission here is very different. This is the Western Hemisphere. Within the Western Hemisphere, we have a country, potentially a very rich country, that has cozied itself up under the control of this regime, has cozied up to Iran, has cozied up to Hezbollah, has allowed narco trafficking gangs to operate with impunity from their own territory, allows boats with drugs to traffic from their territory, and we are addressing that. And by the way, 9 million people in the largest mass migration event in modern history have left that country since 2014.
But that regime is still in
having
place.
an impact on us. That is what we are
She
addressing
just won't
now.
let that stupid
you
shit
spoke
go, will she?
yesterday-
But we're not just addressing the regime. We are addressing the factors that are a threat to the national interest of the United States.
Understood. You spoke with Delcy Rodriguez, who is now, according to President Trump,
She
sworn
tried
in
to
as
save
the
it. That's,
president,
we're
the
good.
leader
That's
of
good. We
Venezuela.
can't listen to the whole thing, but that was good. That's the part I wanted, was where he just made her look totally stupid because it was a dumb question. And it really was a dumb question. And now they're trying to they want you to believe that Venezuelan people around the world aren't happy when they are. They are happy.
That's for sure.
Yes.
That I won't disagree with.
Yeah. Well, and then you have people protesting here, dude, that don't even know why they're protesting.
No, people are.
They're just stupid, but they're the ones organized by these groups that I told you about, that it's just anti-Trump. That's all it is. Yeah, let's hear this one. This was on Dinesh D'Souza's account.
News. All eyes on Venezuela. These are historical news. This is history in the making. I mean, my chest, it feels like it's gonna explode with joy, because before I was even born, there have been struggles. My family has been fighting for so many years before I was even here. They have told me about it. They told me about a time where democracy existed, and now I can finally look forward to that. And that's just everything that I can ask for. And I just want to tell you people, America, Venezuelans are good people. The greatest people that I know, I can vouch for them. We are good. We are working hard, and this is President Donald Trump and Maria Corina Machado just created an opportunity for us to begin working harder than ever, because that's what we have always been doing, but now we will be working in our country. But we also have worked so hard here in the United States to build so much things, and I just want to thank you, America. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to work.
There's a lot of pride that comes with Venezuelans. He actually wore this flag just like this for his college graduation in the University of Florida, just to show you so much for so long. Being here has been incredible. People are dancing, people are cheering, and we've been here so many times, Christian, like you've said in the past, when there have been so many issues, and they would cheer, "Si se
That's
puede,
good.
si se puede."
I appreciate that.
Now they're
Thank you. And why wouldn't they be happy? You know, this isn't like the mess that Iraq turned into. Not like that at all. And he wasn't, what due process was it? Y'all screaming about due process. Well, due process is happening. He's in court right now in Brooklyn, New York. So there you go. You want due process? You're getting due process. But everybody else, like, how you cannot be happy for the people. You have Americans that know shit about what's going on, protesting, and just out of hatred for Trump. At some point, you got to be able to set that aside, but that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen in the case of Trump. He can never win those people over, and he doesn't try to. And he's not going to, and people can say dumb shit, and they are going to continue to say dumb shit. But let's not think you're also aligning yourselves with people like Vladimir Putin. He's a real moral authority, isn't he? Or the communists in China. Oh, international law. That's like a burglar lecturing you about door locks while standing in your living room. We're not going to stand to be lectured to by the likes of Russia and China. And you idiots have tried to portray that Trump is a Putin puppet. Well, do you think this is what a Putin puppet does? Do you think this is what somebody who does with China? Nobody has stood up against China in my entire life. I'm 57 years old. Nobody has stood up to China like President Trump has. No one. They've all talked about it, but they've never done it. Russia invades their neighbors for sport. China, we literally know that they run concentration camps. I thought we were against that. Actually, I mean, you hear the stories about harvesting of organs. And then Venezuelan, what was Venezuela? A cocaine vending machine? And he was the head. But now you're concerned. Now you're concerned about this lawfully elected president. He wasn't lawfully elected. Even Biden didn't agree. So this isn't just a Trump thing in 60 other countries. The dude got taken in his, did you see him in his pajamas? That was kind of funny. Like he was on his way to fucking Walmart. But yet the other top dictators are having a meltdown and you give a shit? Who the fuck are you? I just don't understand Americans like that. I really don't. What about when Venezuelans were starving? What about when they were leaving and by 8 million people over 10 years? Or they protested and they got shot like they're shooting protesters in Iran right now. Now you care about that. They're just mad. They're just mad because this was clean. It was done with precision. It showed the might of the United States. There's no endless war. We're not doing any nation building. We're not setting up any funds. We're not sending $100 billion of grant money to Venezuela, just like they want to do with Ukraine. And this is not something that's going to be dragged out over a decade, and more lives and more money lost. In and out is what it was. And Trump proved that it could be done. It could have been done by others. It just wasn't. But it could have been. So the acting president, right? The acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, she is a Maduro loyalist. She also was sanctioned. And she's been really loud about sovereignty and colonies and, you know, the oppressive empire of the United States. This is a regime that's been as corrupt as any in the world. Cartel money, foreign protection, and they just lost the head of the snake. And now they have a placeholder who has to say what she thinks she has to say. But if she's smart, she'll do the right thing, which is keep the peace and allow for future elections in the near future in Venezuela that people can believe in. And once again, or, you know, if they want to, you know, even if they let one of these previously elected leaders in that they believe won the election, I don't know. I'd rather have just new elections. I think that would be the right thing. But all Trump does is get results. This is what the Monroe Doctrine really is, right here. And this is what happens when America stops pretending that weakness is diplomacy, which is what we've done over Obama's tenure, and we started again under Biden. It didn't work. This is what fuck around and find out actually looks like. So she can have respectful relations with the United States, or she can get removed as well. But this whole bullshit about China and Russia, you know, stomping their feet. Remember, as I said before, the people complaining the loudest are the ones who benefited from the corruption. You know, we don't live in a simple, easy world, people. We just don't. And, you know, just on his face, this, you know, I've been critical lately of a few things of President Trump, and I still stand by those things. I still stand by the fact that I still want the Epstein files. This isn't going to make me forget about the Epstein files. And those of us that want that still want that. And many of us want much more. Many of us want to see the people that were responsible for the biggest thing since Watergate, and it really was bigger than Watergate, actually be treated that way and have people charged, tried, and jailed. We want accountability. And I expect Trump to deliver that accountability. I do. And I won't be happy until that's done. But I can be happy about this. Because to me, this checks off so many boxes for Trump. It checks off the immigration box. It checks off the drug box. It checks off the security of the United States box. All of that. And that I can get behind. This is what I voted for. And those of us that voted for him, this is what we voted for. You always keep asking us, is this what you voted for? Is this what you voted for? Damn fucking right, this is what I fucking voted for. This. We're the fucking United States of America, and we don't have to apologize for being the big dick in the fucking room. And I'm tired of that other bullshit, and so are a good many of us Americans, and we won the election. So suck it up. You got 3 more fucking years. And he's not done yet. So that I'm happy with. All right. Ukraine. I did want to hit on this. I alluded to it the other day, but I wanted to hit this, go over this a little bit, and then got another little short segment on Tim Walz after that, and we'll be wrapping it up. So this is about, what about the peace deal that's been talked about? And what's the money involved in this? And don't forget, we've already committed hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine that we're never getting back. The UK was a little bit smarter. They did loans, but they're probably not going to get it back either. But it was still, they were smarter to do it as a loan than just gift the money. And apparently, the United States and the UK, they all hate Putin enough that they thought this was money well spent. I seriously do not care about the dictator in Ukraine and the corruption there. So what do you, just want your opinions, drop them in the comments, what you think. But as a part of the negotiations that have been going on for the rebuilding of Ukraine, if a peace deal is signed with Russia, $800 billion is the number. $800 billion. That's for physical damage and economic investment to modernize. So who pays this $800 billion and how? Again, this is all up for negotiation still. They're still negotiating. But here's the basic breakdown that we know so far. Who would provide the money? So it's a multi-layered approach, not just one check from us, but the United States and Europe, $200 billion. That is the cornerstone of what Zelensky wants. And that's the U.S. and the EU creating a grant fund, and each putting in 50-50, $100 billion each. Grant money. You know what a grant is, right? It's when you give somebody something, it's like a gift. You're not getting that fucking shit back. The G7 and international groups, World Bank, IMF, European Bank. Who the fuck funds the IMF? You know? You know who funds the IMF? The U.S. You fund the IMF. They're coordinating trust funds for energy, housing, the private sector. That's where they think a bunch of this money is going to come in the private sector. But wait till you get where they expect the bulk of the money to come from. That's probably not going to happen. But this is supposed to be, Ukraine's going to become some fantastic hub for green energy and tech. Yeah, that sounds about right, doesn't it? While we're all fighting about oil? Yeah, the green energy. Get the fuck out of here. But the idea is, corporations would come in, they'd build factories, they would deal with infrastructure. So is it loans? Is it grants? And basically it's both. And then they call it reparations, but there's a little bit of a twist. Now, some of the grant monies for humanitarian needs, and that would be, the grant money would be gifts, not repaid. And then there's these loans. They've proposed interest-free loans. The problem with the interest-free loans, although that sounds like a really good deal, interest-free, wouldn't you like an interest-free loan? Sounds like a good deal, but if you're the bank, it's not such a great deal because they have limited recourse, which means if it doesn't get repaid, there's very little that they can do to make it happen. They can't go repo a fucking country. You don't pay your car loan, they can repossess it, right? You don't pay your home loan. Eventually, after a couple of years, I found that they can come and take your house. They kick you out, show up with sheriffs. They can do that. But they have nothing. It's all words that have no teeth. So Ukraine receives the money now, but how would it be repaid? Frozen Russian assets. There's $300 billion in Western country banks. That's what it would be, how it would be repaid. But here's the problem. The problem is that legally, they probably can't get it. And you think Russia's going to agree to just give up claim to $300 billion? You think that's going to work well in the negotiation? So directly seizing the money is going to be literally almost impossible. And right now, they're actually using the interest to back the loans that Ukraine already has. And all the IMF's job to do is to make sure the currency doesn't collapse. But, they may or may not be able to do that. And they have a program of about $8 billion over 4 years to kind of just show, hey, it's okay to invest. It'll be like, look, you corporations, once there's peace, it'll be okay for you to invest here. That's what it's supposed to give them. But you're supposed to hand over a bulk of that money, and I don't understand, why all those countries together get to do $100 billion, and we're responsible for $100 billion. We're taking care of our neighborhood. This is their neighborhood. Let those motherfuckers take care of their neighborhood. For years and years, they didn't want to pay what they needed to pay for protection. We were just protecting them out of the goodness of our hearts, I guess. And because of that, they were able to use their money to provide health care for all. You don't get health care for all. You know why? Because the Germans have it. That's why. Because the English have it. That's why. Because of your money. Because it's money they don't have to spend on their own protection, their own defense, and that allowed them to put it to their social programs, and they did. I'm not advocating for, one size fits all healthcare. I'm just giving you the straight facts. That's why it's not possible. That's why our country is in the debt that it's in. Because it's like we've been apologizing for being so fucking successful. We don't need to apologize anymore. Lead through strength, and we finally have a president that's leading through strength. And if you don't like it, tough shit. Find a candidate, back your candidate, and fight it out at the election booth, at the voting booth. That's what we did. Even when it got stolen from us, we still fought back. You got your steal. But that's not going to happen anymore. We're not going to let it happen anymore. And who's getting hit with this, with all of this trouble in Minnesota? It's not new. I'll grant you that. It's not new. We've known. It's just grown. And the things that were put in place to go after this corruption, to go after this fraud in Minnesota was just ineffective. And, you were if you tried to go after it, you were called a racist, and they just backed down. And because the party in charge in Minnesota benefited from the fraud. They benefited from the fraud. We know that they did. The numbers are already there. The people involved are already there. Ones who have already been arrested and tried and convicted. I think there's been over 60 convictions. So, yeah, it wasn't new. But you know what that young Nick, the journalist, did? He brought it to the attention of all Americans, not just Minnesotans. All Americans. That's what he did. And he should be applauded for that instead of being attacked like he has because mainstream media didn't want to do their job. And I'm actually surprised because Democrats have been dumb enough lately to just double down on everything. Literally everything. When we talk about trans agenda and, boys and girls sports, they double down. They go hard. So I didn't really expect Walz, but supposedly while we're doing this and you're listening to me, that Tim Walz was supposed to have a press conference this morning and say he was not going to continue his campaign to be reelected as governor. He's already been governor for 8 years and, 7 years. This is year number 8. And he's going to back down, ending his reelection bid for another 4 years. And he's just blaming the Republicans. I thought that his people wanted him to fight harder, so he must have not been listening to them very well. Well, I think Minnesotans are going to be much better off, whether they elect another Democrat or another Republican or a Republican that they haven't elected in a long time. So we'll see how that goes, but at least there's a possibility. And hopefully this corruption can be, will continue to be investigated. And again, accountability. That's what we want. That's what MAGA wants. We want accountability. And we want more people like the 60 who have already been convicted and jailed. We want more of these people to face this same process. And then the ones that we can get out of the country, to get them the fuck out of the country. It's time that we not only protect our borders from the invasion, but defend our country from this onslaught of migration that's just really made us into something that we're not. You can't do that when people don't want to assimilate. Let in the people that want to come and be Americans and want the opportunity that America presents. And how great is it, again, to bring up Venezuela? How many of those 8 million people, some of them might be willing to go back to Venezuela for the opportunity there if they have an opportunity in a democratically run country like we have here in the United States, or at least some semblance of freedom, even if it's fake freedom, some semblance of freedom that they certainly don't have now. To have that's national pride. Why shouldn't they have that national pride? Great to come here if you can come here and contribute. But you know what's also cool? It's also cool if you could stay where the fuck you are and make your own country better and be proud of your country. Just like I'm proud of mine. Yeah, I'm proud of the United States. For all the shit that we do and shit, yeah, I'm proud. Because I'm not giving moral authority to any fucking buddy else. They don't deserve it. That's not what this is about. And it's about time that we had a president that defended us that way, and we do, and that's why we reelected him. So that's what I got. That's my story for today. I was a little prepared. A little bit more better.
No. You're very well prepared today.
I'm trying, man, because you're doing a great job. So the one thing that has to get better is me, the talent. I got to get better. I got to give you a reason to tune in. I got to give you a reason to share the clips of the show. I got to give you a reason to tune in and just talk about stuff. The stuff that I care about. And if you care about it too, then you're in the right place. So drop comments. Go to the other social pages we have. Right now, I can't comment on Facebook until the 7th. Still don't know why. Still wasn't able to challenge it. It's so fucking stupid. But guess what? I learned that if I posted on Instagram and shared it, it somehow worked this time. It didn't used to work when I got suspended before. And I have been able to make posts on Facebook. I just can't then comment on my own post. Isn't that stupid?
Can you write like a description on your post?
Yes. But I can't comment on my own post.
I have no idea what's going on there.
Dude, it's the weirdest fucking shit. I don't even know. So I'm not ignoring people. Look, I do comment back on my social media. I interact with you as much as I can, and still have a life. So forgive me for that. I do my best, as good as anybody out there. And much love, much appreciation. Come back Wednesday morning. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Whoa. Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting.